So when I bought the materials for the house, I got SIP panels, structurally insulated panels, and I got 8 12-foot panels and 8 16-foot panels. So basically what we were going to wind up with was a 32 by 24 foot box, and that's pretty much it right there. Well, once I got to thinking about it, I decided that was a little bit boring, so I designed in a bay window for the front of the house. That went up two floors, so we wound up doing there is saving out 2 of the 12-foot panels. Well, then I decided that we could make an addition onto the house here, make it extend it out 12 feet here. So I left out 1 of the 12-foot panels on the first floor here on the back side of the house. Yeah, we've got them over here in storage. That's what the SIP panels look like right there. They're basically 2 sheets of OSB plywood with 5.5 inches of insulation sandwiched in between them, glued in between them. So there are the 3 extra SIP panels, and they'll go in to making 3 walls or 2 walls on our house here, on the addition onto the house here. And when we had the dig out of the house, we had it dug out wide here, down for the basement. We had it dug out all way past it. So we put the cistern in there, 12,000 gallon water tank in there. Before I closed all that in, I put 2 pilings in over here on this side. Well, last year I put the other piling in over on the other side there to finish that out. And then I had a 6 by 12 timber that I cut. And I've got 2 by 12s cut, a yellow cedar 2 by 12 ready to go for floor joists on there. This addition is going to cover the top of the cistern here. We got a vinyl liner and put in there to seal the cistern up. It's basically like a giant culvert. It's 12 foot in diameter and it's aluminum. I have gutters that I don't have installed yet up here on the roof, and the downspout comes down from right up there, comes down here, and I don't have the catch piece in there yet, but I made a piece to go up under the gutter with a drop leg on it, so the debris and dirt crap that comes off the roof goes down into the drop leg first when it starts raining, and then when it fills up, the extra water comes out and goes down that 2-inch pipe there and makes its way down there to go into the water tank. Then I've got a standoff that comes up, goes over and down, so when the water in the tank gets up to that level, it drains off down into the drainage system around the house. So that's kind of an overflow. Well, I'd made a cover for the tank, or actually my son did, using some used real heavy roofing that we'd salvaged off a post office when they redid the roof on the post office. And that worked to keep crap out of there for a while, but it just wasn't strong enough to hold, and it was starting to collapse. So I bought some pan decking. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but it's decking that goes down, and then you pour concrete over the top of it to make a ceiling or a suspended deck or something like that. Well, when I took the old roofing off, I kind of screwed up. Some of it collapsed and fell down into the tank, into the water tank. I knew I was going to want to open that water tank up and get down in there and clean out the dirt and stuff like that before we put a permanent cover over it. But when that sheet metal went down in there and I pulled it back out, it tore this vinyl lining in several spots. I was originally just going to try to patch it up, but I decided to get a new liner for it. That finally came last winter, but by the time it came, I was busy doing other things, and then this tank froze up. And when we came back from Florida, this thing was still solid ice in here. So right now it's thawed out, the ice is out of it. We got a nice day in here, so I'm going to go ahead and start working on this tank to get it ready to pull this liner out of it and put the new liner in it. Then we'll put the top on it, the cover on it, build the cover for it. So we've seen the inlet side of the water tank and down into the water tank. This is the working end where it comes out and we use it. Well, what I've got is a 2-inch pipe that comes out of the water tank right there through a bulkhead fitting. There's a shutoff valve right there just out of the tank. Then it comes down here a little ways and it tees and it goes into the house here. through a port that I put in the concrete when we poured the basement foundation. And then there's another pipe that comes out and goes down into the ground, and I've got that pipe running all the way down into a stream that goes out of here. So for draining the water out of the tank, or if we ever want to hook up water down below someplace to go to another building or something like that, that'll be there for that. And so there's a shut off for that right there, just this side of that T. Then I had some 6-inch plastic water pipe, and I slid a piece of that over the whole thing, cut out where the valves are, and then I put in insulation, spray foam insulation. I've got a heat tape that runs out from inside of the house around that pipe. I've got to get access to cut that pipe off where it comes out of the tank to put a new bulkhead fitting on there. I've got the Sawzall out, and I've already started. I cut around the circumference of the pipe, and now I'll take and cut lengthways down it from the wall there, from the tank itself, this direction, and peel that pipe off of there and clean that up around that outlet, because I'm going to have to cut the pipe, put the bulkhead fitting in back in again through the vinyl liner when it's time to put the vinyl liner back on. Alright, that's opened up, so that's one little chore done. Now for the last year or so, I've noted that my water tank was not holding its level like it should have. But there's water coming out of that bulkhead fitting right there out of the tank now. There was a gasket on there on both sides, a neoprene style gasket on both sides, and the one on this side is squished out pretty good, and it's no longer making a seal. So anyway, that should get fixed as we put the new liner in the tank. That thing is all glued together there where that 2-inch pipe goes into the bulkhead fitting, so I'll have to cut that pipe, unscrew that bulkhead fitting, and then it pulls out from the inside. And then when I reinstall the new one, I'll just have to put a coupler on there, a little coupler on there. And that styrofoam insulation, that blown-in foam insulation, I wasn't sure how well it was going to work, but it filled up that cavity inside that 6-inch pipe just beautifully. Come out of there nice. So that pipe, I'll be able to put it back on. I'll probably have to glue it on or put some kind of a band on it or something like that, but it's split now so that it'll fit over that in that cut area, and we'll get that all put back together the way it was when it came apart. So anyway, that's the start on getting the tank. I got to drain that tank anyway, but we'll make sure we get all the laundry and everything we need to use water for done, and we'll drain the water out of that tank, pull that liner out of it, clean up the tank, and put the new liner in, and then I'll put the gutters back on the house and start filling that thing back up again. So rather than just dumping all that water out, decided I'd go ahead and clean up all the equipment and stuff that I have. I'll start out with the pickup here. I haven't washed it for a whole while, since last summer. Well, anyway, I got the power washer going, and then I've got a bucket with some purple cleaner stuff in it, and then my brush. Once I get all the loose dirt and stuff knocked off of it with the pressure washer, then I'll go over it with a brush and wash it with some soap and water. We're trying to find uses for all this water in this tank here, so we're just draining it out for nothing. We got all the laundry done. I got my pickup and washed it, cleaned it up. Then I took the pressure washer and cleaned up the PC-30 excavator, got all the mud and everything out of it, got it all cleaned up, and I took the Bobcat and washed it down. We just washed my granddaughter's car and my wife's car, and then I took the pressure washer and cleaned up the exposed area of the forms in the basement, the styrofoam insulated forms on that corner and in the front of the door of the basement. So I got it cleaned up, and I washed the exposed area of the water tank and got all the dirt and grime and algae and stuff washed off it. Still got 3,000 or 4,000 gallons of water in there. Oh, I'm going to have to go down and open the valve and just let that drain out into the ditch. I think we used up just about all we're going to. Got good weather for a couple more days, so when I get that down, there'll still be 500-600 to 1,000 gallons of water in that tank that's unusable in the bottom there. But I get that down to where I can get down in there, and there's a bulkhead fitting over here where the water inlet is from the roof gutters and stuff, and then there's an outlet down there that goes out into the house to the pump. Once I get the water level down, I'll be able to get those out of there. Anywho, I guess I might as well go open that valve out and let that water drain out of there. Gosh, it seems like when you want to save the water, it drains out of there pretty fast, and when you want to get rid of it, you can't hardly get rid of it. That water is draining pretty good. It's almost down to the outlet now. Another couple hundred gallons to go, I guess, something like that. I've been working on the liner a little bit to get it out. Well, this tank was a little taller than what my sill plate is on the house. Well, anyway, I needed to cut that water tank down. And what we did is I filled the water tank up, drilled a hole in it where I wanted the cutoff to be, the height of the tank to be. But anyway, it filled it up to where it would drained out of that little hole that I put in there. And then it froze up hard over the winter. So when it froze up hard, I was able to get in there and just take the saw and cut around the tank there and get it almost perfectly level around there at the height that I wanted. Since this edge of the tank is just aluminum, and sharp, even though I filed it down with a file and took all the burrs and the edges, sharp edges off of it and everything, I was afraid that this vinyl liner come out over the lip of this tank, and the weight of the water in there, eventually it just cut the liner, and the liner would fall down in the tank. So what I did is I took an old garden hose and slit it and put it over the lip of this tank to cushion against, to protect that vinyl liner. And that worked pretty good. Well, then I was afraid, and probably unnecessarily so, that vinyl liner might slide into that tank some more over that rubber. Well, what I did was I got some PVC water pipe, 1.25 inches, and I cut it, and then I took the heat gun and opened it up so that it would fit over the vinyl liner and over that rubber hose. And then after I got it over it, then I went over it again and heated it back up and squeezed it back down again to make a clamp over that vinyl liner, over the liner and rubber hose. And that worked really good. That clamped it on. In fact, I just barely got this off. Most of the pieces didn't come off in one piece when I took them off of there. And then I got this pipe insulation, this foam pipe insulation, and put over the top of the plastic to act as a gasket on there, so that when we put the top on the tank here, it would squish down into here and kind of form a gasket in there and seal that up. That way, you know, because the plastic is uneven and stuff going around there, if we put something down over the top for a cover, it might have gaps and stuff in it that debris and vermin and bugs and things like that could get into. So I wanted to prevent that, and that gasket would seal that up pretty good. Well, I think I'll probably do the same thing again. I'm not sure after what I've done that I need to put that water pipe over there for a clamp to clamp that on there. I really didn't see any indication that that vinyl liner was going to slide off there once it's wrapped up and folded over that water tank. It seems like it holds pretty good. Anyway, I've got the ladder in here now. The water level's going down. Still got, 6 inches to drop down before it drops down, before it gets to that drain. But I've got the inlet over here I want to take out of it. Hey, Hodgie, what you doing over there, Hodge? Almost the water drained out of that tank. It's down to the outlet. I put the ladder in there, so I got down there and took the collar off of that outlet side. We still got several hundred gallons of water in there. Well, back to square one. They said they went and got a pump, got a length of hose and stuck through that outlet drain. So that should suck it down to the point where we can get it out of there. Well, here's what it looks like on this end. Got that little old pump. Had that for 100 years. It's just a cheap old Harbor Freight pump. In fact, it's been sitting for a long time since the last time we used it. I had to spin it pretty good to get it started. But got the hose running through the outlet pipe, and then another length of hose and out across the road where the water will run down, or it won't do any damage. There's our lash up there. It might take an hour or so to get that pumped out of there now, but I got that liner out of the tank. I put a strap on and gathered up a whole bunch of the sides of the liner on one side, hooked it onto one side of the bucket, and then grabbed up another bunch of it on the other side of the bucket and picked it up. The sides kind of started sliding down in there, and then some of the water did spill out into the tank, and then some of the crap that was in the liner, old dirt or algae or whatever that was in there. So I'm going to have to get down in there with a bucket and clean that out and get it dried out in there and cleaned out. Well, I had to take the morning off today. Got called to go flying today. Thought it was just going to be another hour and a half flight and I'd be back to work here this morning. But it wound up being a lot longer. It wound up being about a 3-hour flight, and it was actually longer than that because we had to stop along the way. We wound up finding spawning fish down in Gambier Bay. So we stopped so that the biologists could get a sample of the fish. I started cleaning the water out of this tank yesterday. Of course, we got the liner out of there. Some dirt and some rust and some crap on the walls there. So I got a scrub brush and scrubbed those down and got that down. Sucked the water and the dirt and stuff out of there with the shop vac. And when it gets full, I've got a hose run to my little pump, and we'll turn it on and pump that water out of that shop vac. That way I don't have to pack that stuff up and down with water. Well, I got that hole cleaned out there. We had a nice day yesterday. It was actually hot, and it was nice this morning. What the forecast is for it to start raining this afternoon and get 4 or 5 days of rain. I figured once I got this cistern emptied out, it probably wouldn't rain all summer to fill it back up, but that's not going to be the case. I want to get that liner in there before it starts raining so I don't have to go through what I just went through of draining all that tank out again. It might only come up a couple 3 inches, but that's still a lot of work to get all that water out of there. So got to get this one fitting in there because this goes in behind the liner, and once I get this in there, then I can go ahead and put the liner in, and I can come back out and cut the hole in it and finish it up anytime. And that's what I'm going to do with this inlet, because I ordered a new fitting for that, and that won't be here for a few days. This tank's not going to fill up that fast, so that I can put in anytime. Well, I got the outlet fitting in there, and everything's cleaned up inside the tank. I got the hose around the edge of the tank here, the barrier to keep the from chafing and cutting through the vinyl. So I put a tarp over the edge of the tank on this side and out over the ground a little bit so we can unfold that liner out here without getting it down in the dirt. So my son and his friend Mark are going to come up and give me a hand and get this put in. Yeah, okay. No, we don't want to put the whole thing over, but we want to get the bottom in. This is the top, it's got to fold over here. So hold on that work. Yep. Let's take this tarp. Alright.
Want somewhere Mark is?
Yeah, I'll probably get one on this side of where Mark's at.
I got 2 left. I'll go on the inside. Doing, huh?
Oh, it's supposed to rain till Friday, but I haven't checked the weather since 3.
It changes. It was supposed to rain after 4. Well, we got the liner all in there. It's funny, it's not cut square. We got more hanging down on that side than on this side, but that's okay. We got dirt on this side. So we got it clamped up on here with clamps, keep it from sliding in there. So I put some of that pipe insulation on there that I had on before. See what happens there. But anyway, we got clamps down on them. I'm going to put this down for a gasket anyway when I put the cover over this. Anyway, it can rain now if it wants to. So now that I'm ready for the rain, it probably won't. But the liner is in there. The tank is all cleaned out inside and the liner is in there. I can go out down there and cut out for that outlet anytime. I don't imagine we're going to get more than a foot of water in here, a few inches of water, even if it rains for a couple days. It quit raining for a little bit, so I get out here and work on this water tank a little bit more. I put the little cover plate on and attach that goes over the outlet. There's about 1.5 or 2 inches of water down there in the bottom of that tank right now. I didn't put the cover, that's it, that piece there that goes over the vinyl. The flange is back behind the vinyl against the aluminum against the tank itself. So anyway, I didn't get that on there. I didn't get the hole cut out and stuff like that. We just barely got the liner in before it started raining. So we got a break in the weather now. I'm going to go ahead and do it. Well, I've got my ladder. They cleaned the ladder off the other day before we stuck it back in there. We put the liner down, and then I got down inside of it and formed it around the edge. And we got a couple of clean pair of gloves that I put over the foot of the ladder to go down in there to cushion between the vinyl and the ladder bottom and to keep the vinyl clean down there. So I'm going to stick that ladder in there, and then I've got a brand new virgin pair of rubber boots that I bought last year that have never touched the ground. And I'll put those on, get down in there in the tank, and then put the flange on the flange. Well, I got that outer flange put on there. It looks like hell. I used black PRC 5200 for that. I should have used white. I didn't take anything down there to kneel on, so I had to kneel in the water, and I should have taken something down there to put my tools and stuff on. But once I got down in there, then I couldn't get back out again to go get anything because I'd get my shoes dirty. Anyway, that outlet is set up there now, and that should be sealed. I put sealant in behind the vinyl where it goes up against the flange, and then I put sealant on that outer flange. Of course, I got it all over everything when I did that because it squeezes out and gets all over everything when you do it. Like I said, it looks ugly, but it should work pretty good. It shouldn't leak. It should seal that up pretty good. So anyway, the outlet is set up. So there's about 2.5, 3 inches of water on that end and 1 inch of water down on this end. That's just from 2 days rain. If I'd have had the gutters hooked up and water flowing in there, we'd probably had a foot of water in there by now. But that didn't happen. And now it's not supposed to rain for the next week at least, which is fine. I got a new flange, is on order, and it says it'll be here next week sometime. So that one I've got to get put in on the inlet where the downspout goes in and goes into the tank. And then once it's in, then I can cover this up and it'll be finished. And then we can just wait for it to fill up with water. Anyway, that's done for now. The tank is done for now until I get that other flange, another fitting. Well, we've had some really nice weather the last 2 days, and I thought yesterday I was going to get up on the machine and put the gutters up on the house, but I got called out to go flying both Monday and yesterday. The last of the herring surveys. Monday they opened up a pot shrimp fishery, and so we went out to the southern district and did a survey, a vessel survey down there to see what boats were fishing and where they were fishing. And then yesterday I got called out to do a vessel survey up in District 10, so we went up there. The managers are going out in skiffs today. Now they know where the boats are, so they'll go out to each of the individual areas or each individual boats, and they'll talk to the boats and see what their catches are. So they got to keep track of the fishery so they don't catch too many shrimp in an area, figure out when they're going to close it. I did get the bulkhead fitting to go in the inlet side of this yesterday in the mail. So I got it put in. I'm using marine adhesive 5200 to seal around that. So I put a little bit in there last night, yesterday evening, but then there was some gaps in the sealant and stuff today, so I come out, I just went in there and sealed that up. Hey, Smoker.